Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. Today feels like a serious heat wave because it's up to 15 degrees, real feel of 2 degrees Fahrenheit here. And guys, it feels amazing. Like I was like, man, when I was milking the goats this morning, I was like, who knew -5 could feel so good? But to be quite honest, this cold snap has me concerned about some things for the future. Not necessarily for my life in particular, because of the fact that I do live in a cold climate. We've plotted and planned out our homestead for basically our climate becoming colder. When I was a kid, we were in growing zone 5 and now it's growing zone 6, even though I really didn't move around much. It's just things have changed with the climate, and I'm not one of them super big climate activist persons. It's just things that I've noticed through homesteading, that the extremes keep getting more extreme on both ends of the things. But this whole cold snap actually brought up some seriously big questions within me. First off, when we first got this house and stuff, you guys have heard me talk about it multiple times about that this place did not have any heat source when we first got here. We were advised by several different people that what we should put in here was actually considered a heat cool pump for the entire house. However, the reason we did not do that was because we found out that those stop working when it gets down to -13 degrees Fahrenheit, which normally Ohio does not get that cold. And I had asked the person that was recommending it to me, I said, well, what do you do if it gets below that? They're like, well, that never happens, so it's no big deal. And I'm like, no, for real though, it could happen. Like, we've experienced really big extremes and shifts and changes throughout the last several years of, just existence all across the globe. This has been happening where, there's unprecedented flooding or way worse hurricanes or fires or droughts or a million different things. Clearly you'd have to have your head in the sand to think, oh, this is totally normal. Because for me, I'm in my early 30s, and just looking back to when I was a child, things are very different. Okay, so that in the back of my mind kept going, that doesn't sit right with me. That if it got really, really, really cold, when you need heat the absolute most, that's when you wouldn't have it. Okay, so over the last 2 days, it has been beneath the real temperature, not the real feel, the real temperature for where I live at. The one yesterday, it was -17 degrees when I got up. The day before that, it was -15 was the actual temperature, not the real feel. So had we gone with that suggestion of what the modern heat source is, we would have been screwed, like screwed beyond belief of having no heat at all, which I'm sure that there's been several thousands of people that this week experienced having zero source of heat, and how scary and terrifying that would be. So I'm a huge advocate for having multiple different sorts of heat sources, especially having a wood stove, because in this instance, gearing up for the cold snap, we were not that worried about our heat source because we knew that we had wood, that if power went out or whatever, which, in this situation, if the power goes out and it's -30 real feel outside, it's going to take crews a very long time to get it back on. They're going to try, but it's going to be very, very painful for them, very difficult, very time consuming. And to be quite honest, some places are probably just completely inaccessible because of the snow and the ice and, whatever else. But to be quite honest, that was something that we didn't have to concern ourselves about, of what do we do if we lose power? Because honestly, we had plenty of wood. We have a wood stove, that's just our main source of heat and stuff, which not everybody needs to do that, but to at least have that as a backup is really a good peace of mind. Or have, propane or something that doesn't require electricity as a backup is a really nice feature to have. The other big thing that this brought up within me, I could put the hood up, even though it is warmer today, it's a little bit chilly since the sun is tucked behind the hillside. The other big thing that it brought up within me is, what about different fruit trees? What about berry bushes? What about grapes? Different perennials like that. Because for us, when we plot out our homestead, our design features and stuff, we try to make sure everything that we have is actually hardy to down to zone 4. We don't buy stuff if it's only hardy to zone 6, because like I said earlier, it's only been in the last few years that suddenly my part of Ohio has become a zone 6 area. Okay, so that means that, it gets updated every so often and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Things change, things shift, like we had ridiculously cold temperatures. Where I live at, that's not happened in a very, very, very long time. And most people that are buying fruit trees and stuff, they go, okay, well, I live in zone 6. This is hardy enough to zone 6. I'm good to go. Chances are a lot of those plants that you have bought or whatever, they're dead or very stunted. Or, if you live in the South, a lot of stuff would have already been breaking bud, starting to flower, doing all the things that it's supposed to do. And then the freeze came, and then the snow came, or the frost, or whatever, wherever you live at. Things were different for everybody. But I'm telling you right now, This is going to have a serious impact on our food chain, on our food supply, not directly on mine, but on people that rely on the grocery store's food. This is going to have a big ripple effect throughout the rest of the year because a lot of different things, think nut trees, fruit trees, berry bushes, things of that nature that I already listed, those are going to be seriously impacted by this. Not last year, but the year before that, when we first got this place, there are a ton of black locust trees here. But we had a lot of really late frosts. They never flowered last year. They never created the seed pods that a lot of the wildlife depends on. They never did anything of that nature because of when things froze, when things got too cold. It pretty much stunted the entire thing. The same thing happened last year with our pear tree. We only got 4 pears off of it. This year we got probably about 100 pears off of it because of the fact that the frost didn't happen at the same time. Frosts and freezes can really have a significant impact on perennial plants. And that's what's having been rattling around in my brain a lot recently is down in the south, a lot of things would have already been frozen, or not frozen, but fruiting or flowering or getting ready to do those things. And then they got covered in snow, which granted, snow is an insulator. Mother Nature does a fantastic job of trying to protect plants, to protect the land, protect the root systems. A lot of times before a big cold front comes through, she'll dump a whole bunch of snow on the ground so then that way it serves as an insulator to try to protect different things, to try to also protect small animals like chipmunks and voles and little things like that, little creatures, little bugs and things of that nature and stuff. But there's only so much that a blanket of snow can really help with. And that's just something that's been on my mind the last couple of days with seeing that, different parts of Florida got record-breaking snowfall, Alabama, Texas, other places too. I keep thinking about that, of how much of a ripple effect is this going to have? But one thing I know for certain, the ripple effect that the cold front has had on me has made me realize just how much of an importance it is to have backups, to have different sources of heat, to have things in reserve of extra warm clothes, have extra coats, extra boots, extra socks, things of that nature. Because to be quite honest, even though I'm used to living in a cold climate, it was brutal for me to get through it, to take care of the animals and to make preparations and things of that nature. It was very difficult to try to keep everything going and everything alive because it was so unbearably cold that after about 15 minutes of being outside, even with several layers on, it was not safe to be out anymore. So that's it for today. I've got to get back inside because it's getting kind of chilly sitting in the shade right now. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.